slaves worked all the hours they were awake for their entire lives. In American history, in Egyptian history, in the rest of the world that had slaves, which is most of the world at some given point. I think, like, if they can do it, so can I. Now you're like, well, did they have a happy existence? Well, they didn't get to pick the work they did, but it means that you can work. Then, I mean, there's the famous quote, the person who loves walking walks further than the person who loves the destination.
Here's the biggest part. The guys at the top who become the best, where you call them the dominators, the GOAT of your field or whatever it is, they don't let too many terrible days create negative momentum for themselves. They don't do it. They're just not gonna do it. They're obsessed about stacking good and great days. Back to back to back to back to back to back to back, because they know if you do that, the level of momentum created after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of doing this becomes so massive that the level of credibility and success you have at that point is probably more than what you deserve. The reason for it is because for 10 years you created so much momentum that it goes like this. Buffett was worth 52 million at 52 years old, whatever the number is, right? He's worth $100 billion today. That's the idea. It's very hard when you go up against somebody that shows up every flipping day where you sit there and say, take a damn week off, go on vacation. Why don't you slow down for a day or a month or 2 months or 3 months? Please, let me catch up. And he or she says, come on down, baby. I'm not taking that day off or the week off or the month off. That's why I'm the dominator.
You have to be open-minded to the possibilities that I can do this. Once you shut your mind down to the possibility that it can be achieved, there's no way it can happen.
You are gonna die and you're not gonna matter, and I'm gonna die and I'm not gonna matter. So why do I care about what you're gonna say when you're not even gonna show up to my funeral? Who gives a shit?
If you're in a fight, you have to attack. You have to keep attacking. The enemy has to know he is not going to give up. You must break the soul of whatever the fuck is in front of you. That's what I realized. I was never breaking the soul of anything in front of me. So that's why I came with the thing called Taking Souls in my book. I started to devise ways to break a soul of a human being, of an object, of whatever's in front of me. If you keep on attacking something, nothing wants to stand in front of anything that is relentless.
I just hated my job a lot, and I hated where I lived a lot. And so I was like, well, I will just not be here.
Yep.
I went across the furthest place from Baltimore, which is California. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I hate doing? Well, let me not do that, which is, sitting on meetings all day and doing whatever, doing grunt work for shit that I felt like was meaningless. And instead, I was like, I'll do fitness because I like fitness. And I was like, at the very least, I'll do something I enjoy, which I liked fitness at the time. And if you're like, well, I don't like doing anything. Well, it's like, well, then that's impossible, because your brain is wired to be rewarded for things. And so you are doing things that reward you. That's why you do them. Like, everything we do is because we've been rewarded for doing things like that in the past. And we project the same activities, and we predict that doing things like we did in the past that reward us will reward us again in the future. That's where our behavior comes from. And so it's like, okay, well, what has rewarded you in the past?
I can fight all day long. That's what Taking Souls is. But you have to have the will, the heart, the courage to go that distance when you're exactly jacked up. You have nothing left to give, and give more. I learned how to really find strength in the misery. When everybody's suffering, everybody's all poopy pants and their mentality's down and everything, I started just like, my God, this is where I shine. And I started using all that misery for tons and tons of drive and motivation to then lead people further. Because you can get a lot of power through misery. And once people see that, my God, Goggins is fucking going, then everybody says, roger that. Let me get my shit and go too.